Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to my BAKI tier list. We are going to be ranking every fighter in the series, but we're not going to be doing this like other BAKI tier lists. We're not going to be ranking them on strength, all right? It's already been done. We are going to assess them from a storytelling perspective, all right? We are going to rank each character in terms of their quality of how good a character they are. So a character who might be extremely strong but boring might not get a very high ranking, but vice versa. A character who is not very strong but electric every time they are on screen, they might actually pull a high rank. That's how we're gonna do it. Ladies and gentlemen, we will start with Doppo Orochi. This guy is an absolute bloody legend. We're starting strong today. Doppo Orochi is the karate dude in BAKI. He runs the dojo where on the front it has him killing a tiger by karate chopping it in the neck. That's not an exaggeration, by the way. He actually just did that in the show. But there's something about this guy that I love. He has a fight with this guy, Dorian, who's an American prisoner and an absolute menace. He bashes a lot of people, but when he fights Doppo Orochi, there's this incredible moment where Orochi basically like does a few karate punches and breaks all his ribs. And he has one of the greatest lines I've seen in all of anime, which goes something like this. I'm paraphrasing. "This is the punch of a man who has given 50 years of his life to karate. This is not a feat that you can achieve. You mistakenly think that martial arts has given all it can to you, when in reality, you have not given all of yourself to martial arts." End quote. I'm paraphrasing, but that is one of the coldest lines I've ever heard in all of anime. And it shows that the writer of BAKI absolutely knows his shit when it comes to art, when it comes to martial art, because that's really the only way you reach your highest potential in whatever it is you're studying, whether it's music, whether it's acting, whether it's dance, whether it's writing. If you use art selfishly in a self-serving purpose the way that Dorian does, there is a ceiling to how strong you can get. But when you use it selflessly, you kind of just give yourself to the field, to this higher purpose, you reach this level that seems like magic to an ordinary person. Doppo Orochi, we'll be talking more about him as we go on, but he is just an awesome character. And for that line alone, which I never forgot, and I think about it a lot, I'm fucking putting him in S tier. I don't give a shit what anyone says. This guy rules. We'll be talking about him later on, believe that. Here's a problem, chat, is that I love these BAKI characters so much that almost all of them are probably gonna end up in S tier, so I'm gonna have to try and like have a bit of a discerning eye. Kaoru Hanayama. This guy is one of the greatest strongmen in fiction, period. Hanayama is one of my favorite characters ever. He's the leader of the Yakuza, and his grip strength is so strong that he can literally rip a chunk out of a deck of playing cards with one finger. He has a move where he basically can just grab like a part of your body and just squeeze it so hard that it literally like explodes the muscle. It explodes the skin and everything. He's so brutal, and he doesn't even train. And this is what's so interesting about Hanayama. I think in the show, I forget if it's Redditors or the show itself, they say if Hanayama trained, it would have changed the history of martial arts. But I don't actually agree with that. And the show itself explains through Hanayama's psychology why that is the way it is. From Hanayama's perspective, he was just born naturally stronger than literally anyone else in the world. So from his perspective, he's like, why would I train? For him to train would be an admission of cowardice. From his perspective, training would be cheating. He's like, martial arts techniques are for weak people to beat strong people. I'm stronger than everyone. If I learn martial arts techniques, I'm basically saying I'm weaker. So in a way, him training might actually psychologically make him weaker. That's what's so interesting about this guy. For anyone who's still thinking, well, but surely training would make him stronger, let me put it this way. Hanayama is not like a normal person. Does a gorilla need to train? Does a lion need to train? Does a grizzly bear need to train? The answer is no. It's naturally at its highest power level by its own genetic blueprint. And that's what Hanayama is, which is such a bizarre thing to think about, but that is kind of who he is. And I just want to show something to you guys, which I think is really funny. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Hanayama at age 14. This is canonically Hanayama, age 14 and 2 months. And what happens in the story here is that he's just gotten the tattoo of his family's sort of crest and emblem on his back, and he realized, well, there's a problem with this, because the guy who we have a tattoo of, you know, he got cut like a million times. This guy has no cuts. I'm going to solve that problem. So Hanayama, as you can see, age 14, typical 14-year-old here, goes to a rival Yakuza gang and kills basically everyone in the gang. I think their leader, he caves him into like a wall. He's like indented into the wall. In the process of doing this, he's covered in cuts and slashes and knife wounds everywhere. And he's like, okay, my tattoo's complete. This is how much of a monster Hanayama is. He's just one of the greatest characters ever. This is one of my favorite images of him right here. I think this is a 17-year-old in the BAKI universe. Now, what I love about this character so much is he's not actually one of the strongest characters in the show. I think you could put him at roughly like between B and A, but that's not what we're assessing here. We are assessing someone's quality as a character, and every time this guy is on screen, you pay attention. Every single time Hanayama shows up, you kind of can't take your eyes off him because you don't know what he's going to do next. He is one of the boys, but he's also kind of a bit different from all the others. Oh, and I also forgot to add, Hanayama has one of the greatest punches in the history of anime. Because remember, I said he doesn't train. So normally when someone punches you, you got the jab, you know, you got the cross, you got the uppercut, you got the hook. Hanayama's punch is not like that. He kind of like winds and twists his entire body all the way backwards, almost like a baseball throw. And then he spins his entire body around like he's throwing something at you and will clock you in the face so fucking hard that it will throw even like another huge man across the entire room. It's just amazing. As I say, Hanayama in terms of strength is probably somewhere between B and A, but in terms of a character in the show, I would put him in S tier. Every time this guy is on screen, I'm like, I'm paying attention. I want to know what's going to happen next. I think this guy's name is Shinogi. Now, Shinogi, I don't think is particularly too interesting a character. He's a good sort of like B-tier villain early on. He uses a form of karate that is called cord cut karate. And by that, get ready for this description. He will literally put his fingers inside your body, grab your nerve endings or like your veins or your muscle tendons, and then like slice them with his fingers. Yeah. It's that horrific. So he'll basically like do this with your neck and sever your optic nerve so you can't see anymore. He'll sever the nerves in your arms so you can't move your arms anymore. Now, because it's BAKI, right? Naturally, all BAKI does is that he takes the two severed nerve endings and ties them together like a shoelace, and then his arm works again. I don't think he's that cool a character though. He's all right. He's kind of a guy who when he shows up, oh god, he's a pain in the ass, and then you just kind of beat him. But it's a really horrific fighting style. In the BAKI universe, someone can grab your head and literally headbutt you 3 inches into your face, cave it in, and then the next scene, your face will be completely normal and you have a band-aid on your nose. All right, that's the level of recovery we're dealing with. So it's a horrific fighting style, but you can still recover from it in this world. So I will give him a B tier. I think he's okay. Shinogi's all right. He doesn't really have too many interesting moments, but you know, he's one of the boys. Let's chuck in his brother here. Kureha. He is where you get the meme that in BAKI, even the doctors are jacked. So that's Kureha's physique, but most of the show, you don't see him like that. You see him like this. This is a very iconic BAKI image. You get the shit beaten out of you, you go to hospital, and then the most jacked doctor in the world just walks in and basically fixes you. He is a bit of a pretty boy. I don't remember his fights too much, but I do think that the meme of the jacked doctor is like a very funny, iconic image from BAKI. Kureha, I'm gonna put him in B tier because he's okay. He's a character I forget exists a lot of the time, but for this meme alone, he's good enough. He's one of the boys. Are the females ripped in BAKI too, or is it just the guys? No, usually it's just the guys. Usually it's just the guys. But if you want to see Skylar built like Yujiro Hanma, you need to watch Breaking BAKI, which is a real YouTube series, by the way. They took Breaking Bad, they took the audio and the dialogue from that, but then they animated it like it was BAKI, and it's one of the greatest things I've ever seen. It's fantastic. You should watch it. Retsu Kaioh. Retsu Kaioh is basically Jet Li on steroids. This guy, every time he's about to fight someone, he talks about how he is the embodiment of the last 4,000 years of Chinese martial arts. This man is the embodiment of Chinese Kung Fu himself, and he has some of the most ridiculous moves I've ever seen. He fights a guy, and the first thing he does to demonstrate ancient Chinese martial arts, he jumps and sits on the guy's head, so his legs are wrapped around his head, and he's sitting above him, and then he just rotates his entire body like that. Like, just and breaks the guy's neck and gets off. Like, what the fuck is this? Who even thinks that move? And then also we have this meme, this legendary meme. He gets into a fight where he loses a body part. It's only a body part, but the internet, of course, went to town with this, and then they made it look like he just lost every body part. So it's just, this does not happen in the show. This is a meme, but it's a really funny meme, and it gets spammed everywhere whenever Baki gets brought up. Retsu Kai is such a cool character that in Tekken 5, they introduced Feng. And Feng is, for lack of a better word, Retsu Kaioh. And he is an extremely dangerous character. He is very, very hard to fight. He basically takes all the weird sort of moves in Chinese martial arts and then he just does them on steroids. He's kind of always been a top tier character no matter what. I think he's still strong in Tekken 8. All I know is this guy is a fucking pain in the ass to fight against. I'm gonna spoil something here. If you don't want to listen, then my editor will give you a moment when the spoiler's over. He meets a rather grisly end, shall we say, in Baki. He dies. But I think what the writer did, which is really interesting, is he then gave this guy a spin-off isekai manga where in the afterlife, Retsu Kai then goes and fights literal gods and demons with nothing but raw martial arts and beats all of them, which is a really fucking cool idea. That's like actually a very cool, respectful way to treat a character who everyone was upset that he died. I mean, like, I was sad. I fucking love this dude, man. I think that's kind of a cool idea that in the afterlife he gets his own adventures as well. Retsu versus Musashi was amazing. Yeah, now Retsu Kai is interesting because he's not just an unarmed specialist. He also knows how to use weapons as well. And that comes in very handy against Doyle, who's a fucking asshole, and Musashi. And now, we'll get to Miyamoto Musashi, believe that. But his fight with Retsu Kai is very intense. And Musashi gives him a lot of respect after that fight. He's like, I've never seen anyone like this guy in my life. That was nuts. Baki is just JoJo, but stands weren't invented. Yeah, no, in a way, Baki is JoJo, except they are the stands. Retsu is also unusually nice compared to the other characters. There's parts where he's unusually nice to Doyle. There's parts where he's unusually nice to Baki when Baki gets a bit of a sickness and is trying to recover. And actually, there is a phenomenal moment where Baki has basically been pretty fucked up by an illness. And after he's cured, I think Retsu gives him like 1,000,000 plates of dumplings, and then he has this incredible technique for restoring his strength to the maximum in the shortest time possible, which is a gallon of water with 5 pounds of sugar mixed into it, or something like that. And Baki has to drink all of it, and Retsu tells him, if you drink this, a miracle will happen. And the miracle is that Baki just explodes back into like his usual muscular self. I don't know the science of this, but I think with Baki, science is rather a flexible concept. What matters most is if the fight was cool. That's everything. Also, Retsu is quite interesting. He has an arc where he actually becomes a boxer, believe it or not, which is kind of interesting. And, you know, because he's Retsu Kai, he just, like, bashes everyone until he fights Smoking Joe Frazier, who is, you know, based on Joe Frazier, the real-life boxer. But they have a different explanation for why he's called Smoking Joe, which is that, like smoke, he just sticks on you and he never leaves. And it's an okay arc. It's all right. There's a reason that he gets his own Tekken character based on him, and there's a reason he gets an entire Afterlife isekai based on him, because he is that fucking cool. He is 4,000 years of Chinese martial arts embodied. He is just a living historical artifact. He's a wonderful character, and I don't think anyone is going to disagree when I put him in S tier. He's just so sick. Let's do Suedo. I mean, he's kind of a throwaway character. Suedo is something like 6 or 7 foot tall. He's a karate guy under Doppo Orochi. You first see him in the Baki movie from the 1990s. And he's kind of the first opponent who Baki fights. He's okay. It's a very well animated fight. He's kind of whatever. I think the best moment he has in the entire series is when he fights against Dorian, where he, being Baki, Suedo and Dorian get on top of a roller coaster in a theme park and try to fight each other on that. And that's where Suedo, in order to maintain his balance, brings out this technique which was developed by martial artists specifically for fighting on boats, where there would be like an unstable, surface. And he basically just turns his feet inwards, all right, into a triangle. And it's sort of the show's way of explaining that this is this is some very old martial art technique designed for very situational fights. But it's kind of cool that in that moment, he's like, okay, now I have perfect balance because I'm using this very old school technique. It doesn't go too well for him though. Suedo is not particularly interesting or exciting. I'm gonna put him in whatever. Gouki Shibukawa. This guy is one of my favorite characters in the entire show. Gouki Shibukawa is about 70 years old, and he uses a fighting style called Aiki. It's basically Aikido on steroids. And it's all about using your opponent's strength against them. We all know, we've seen this a million times and stuff, but like, Shibukawa is very interesting and unpredictable for a number of reasons. Usually in any martial arts show, the old man is some wise, sensible sort of teacher, a fatherly type. Wrong. That's not the case with Shibukawa. Shibukawa is a fucking asshole. Do not be fooled by his age. This guy thinks exactly like everyone else. One of the funniest moments he has in the whole show is in the 90s anime series where I think he's fighting Doppo Orochi, who's 50 years old. And Shibukawa says something to him like, listen, you young whippersnapper, I've been thinking about how to kick people's asses for 70 years. And Doppo Orochi, who's 50 years old, is like, whippersnapper? Like, it's... This is when Doppo is so puzzled that he's been called a youngster. You don't get called a youngster when you're 50 years old, unless your opponent is 70 and doesn't give a fuck. Shibukawa is just brilliant. He's not necessarily the strongest, but his style of fighting is so weird that it's a hard counter to characters who should be much stronger than him. For example, Mr. Oliva. Basically, this guy is physically one of the strongest characters in the show. But every time he and Shibukawa cross, Shibukawa wins 3 times. One is when they shake hands and Shibukawa gets his strength and basically crushes him into the ground with a handshake. Then later on, you see Shibukawa holding Mr. Oliver by the ear. He's like, come with me, young man. And Oliver's like, hey, man, that hurts. And last, I think, is when Mr. Oliver is basically just bashing heaps of judo specialists. Not with any technique, by the way. Mr. Oliver's just that strong. He's throwing all the biggest boys across the room, and Shibukawa's like, all right, my time. Mr. Oliver picks him up, throws him across the room, Shibukawa lands, and Oliver's like, I think I'm done fighting for the day. And you see that his entire arm has just been dislocated. It's like, bro, how fucking strong is this dude? Well, basically, Shibukawa's not strong, but if you're strong, he'll be strong against you. So he's very hard to predict who he's going to win against. He's technically a good guy. He'll help you out, but he's a fucking asshole. He is a crotchety, cheeky, scheming little old man. He's a little bastard, and I fucking love him for that. Every time Shibukawa's on screen, it's fun. You don't know what he's going to do next. He even gets one over on Miyamoto Musashi, which is a great scene. And Shibukawa's like, look, I would love to fight you, but before this fight, can I have a friendly handshake? And Miyamoto Musashi's like, yeah, okay, if this is your custom. And he's like, I can't let go of your hand. What are you doing? Boom! Like slams him into the ground and fucking just like nails him in the head. It's so good, man. You don't want to give this guy a handshake. As soon as this guy touches you, you're fucked. I love this character so much. Now, I don't even remember who this guy is. He's like a gangster leader of a motorbike gang. There's only 2 things I remember about this guy. One is that when he's in the martial arts tournament, his opponent breaks his arm and he's like, huh, I've won. And the guy's like, you think a broken arm's gonna stop me? Watch this. And he just breaks his arm even further. He just repeatedly bashes it on like the barrier until it's even worse. Like, see, a broken arm's not gonna stop me, mate. And then I think he actually wins the fight through pure stupidity. In anime physics, this is fine because in Baki, that you can recover from this. You just need like a sling and then your arm is fine in like a week. In real life, you should not do this, okay? In real life, if your arm is broken in like 15 places, you're probably not going to have the same use of it ever again after that point. It'll be more like My Hero Academia with Deco. This guy's a fucking idiot. Shiharu Shiba is basically the Kung Pao meme of the guy who they trained wrong on purpose as a joke. And Baki starts to figure out his fighting style where he's like, hang on, this guy just hits me with the weakest part of his body. This guy blocks my punch with his face intentionally. I still, to this day, don't understand even the anime physics of how this works. But Baki has a fight with this guy where he tells Shiharu to hold his fingers out straight like that, and Baki rushes into his fingers and breaks his fingers with his eyeballs. This is real. This actually happens in the show. How this works, I don't know. This guy, I don't really care whenever he shows up on screen, so I'm gonna give him whatever. Igari, who is based on the Japanese wrestler Antonio Inoki, who you all know, he's got a big chin. He fought Muhammad Ali in real life. This is a real fight, by the way. And the way he fought Muhammad Ali was he's like, well, I can't beat this guy's punches. So he lay down on his back and just kicked at his legs for the whole fight, which has been described as the most boring 30 minutes in Japanese martial art history. And the thing is, right, when you watch this fight of Inoki versus Muhammad Ali, it looks stupid what he's doing, but it actually starts to work. At one point, he actually does kick Muhammad Ali in the knee pretty hard, and you see Ali has a bit of a limp from then on. And until that point, Ali's like, the fuck you doing, man? Like, come on. But he's like, hang on, wait a minute. This guy, I can't hit this guy. Every time I try to get close, his legs have more reach than my arms, so what can I do? No, he's not really an interesting character, but he has a funny moment against Baki in the 90s anime where he's a professional wrestler, basically. And before his fight with Baki, he basically gaslights him heaps. He's like, listen, man, I'm an old man. I'm at the end of my career. Please let me have this win. You've got your whole life ahead of you. Just, if you beat me up in that arena, you're beating up a senior citizen. And he guilts Baki so much that it actually messes with his mind. And then as soon as the fight starts, it was all bullshit. It was all an act. He's actually like in full physical top form. And he does like heaps of power bombs and wrestling moves on Baki because he blindsides him. Baki still wins, obviously, because he's the main character. But Igari is like, look, man, I had to, man. Look, you're the son of Yujiro Hanma, man. You're the son of the ogre. I had to do something to have a chance against you. So Igari's okay. Not particularly an important character, but he does have his moments. I'd put him in like C tier. He's all right. Specc. This is easily the easiest S tier character, not strength tier, character tier in the entire show. This guy, I fucking love this character so much. Just look at that award-winning smile. That tells you everything you need to know about this character. The reason Specc is such a cool character in Baki is because he's from the prisoner arc. And the story of that is that 5 death row inmates from around the world, America, Scotland, Japan, they all break out of maximum security prisons to come to Japan because they have never been defeated and they want to know defeat. Specc is so unbelievably dangerous that he is kept in a submarine at the bottom of the ocean. And this doesn't matter to him because when he breaks out, he can hold his breath for 5 minutes and he can escape after killing everyone else. Of course, that we need to make that point. Specc is not necessarily the strongest character in the show, but psychologically, he overwhelms his opponents. Let me put it this way. Baki is technically stronger than him, but what Specc does is Specc shows up at Baki's school. He's like, hello, young man. Lovely to meet you. Pulls out a handgun, shoots himself in the mouth multiple times, it doesn't hit his teeth, goes through his mouth, and just like... Then he says to Baki, please, young man, I would love to fight you. Would you like to shake my hand? Baki takes the hand, and it's just a severed human hand. And Specc's like, hey, don't drop the hand that loves you. Boom, kicks him in the fucking face, slams his head into the severed hand. This is the hand of someone you love. It's one of your friends, mate. It's so fucking insane that these other characters don't know how to deal with a person like this. In the world of Baki, these guys fight in an underground arena where there are no rules, basically. You're allowed to bite, you're allowed to punch people in the balls, you're allowed to gouge people's eyes. Everything is allowed except weapons and killing. Everything. So these guys are just like, okay, we're the most badass guys here ever. But none of these guys are used to a guy showing up, shooting himself in the face, giving you a severed hand, and being this fucking nuts. Specc is one of the most terrifying characters of all. He actually is not in the show for very long. He has this incredible fight with Hanayama, but every time this guy is on screen, it's terrifying. There's a great scene where they put Specc in prison, and the chief of police is in the bathroom, all right? And he's just taking a piss in the urinal. He's like, just minding his own business. Then you just suddenly hear the rushing of water, and he looks at the urinal next to him, and the urinal's just overflowing with waterfalls of water, steam coming up, and it's fucking 7-foot-tall Specc standing next to him, just piss-mogging him, and he's just like, hello, detective. He's like, oh, I just thought I would just break out of my prison cell for a short stroll to get some pork buns. Would you like some pork buns, detective? And he just shoves heaps of pork buns into his mouth in the toilet. This guy is nuts. No one else really thinks like this dude. Because, like, what the fuck do you do against someone who's this completely unhinged? That's why I love Specc, and Specc is such a good character that in the show Breaking Baki, they model Walter White after Specc. His moves, his face. That's how good a character he is. And the funny thing is, with that piss-mogging scene, whenever that's showed on Instagram, the comments will just say, not even the top 5 pissing scene in Baki. Specc has one of the coolest theme songs ever. His song is so lethal sounding, it sounds unhinged, and they even use like submarine sounds in it. And those of you who know, it's like dun 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 chun chun chun. It's just crushing metal. Whenever this guy shows up, something really bad is about to happen. He's a fucking asshole. He also has this incredible fight with Hanayama. As I say, these guys are used to underground fighters, but they're not used to someone like him. Because what Specc will do is he will literally throw bullets into your mouth and slam your jaw shut so the bullets go off and blow your cheeks out and blow your eyes out. He'll even just use a gun. He's like, this is a weapon for winning. Why can't I use this? It's like, what? That's against the rules, man. But they don't care about the rules. That's the cool thing about the prisoner arc. I think Itagaki was trying to find a way to top this sort of underground fighting arena where there's no rules. You know, you can do anything. Well, then these prisoners show up. Specc, Doyle, Sikorsky, Yanagi, and Dorian. And for the prisoners, there are no rules. They can attack you while you're having a meal at a restaurant. They can attack you while you're asleep. They can attack you while you're with a woman. And the philosophy these prisoners have is like, well, if you couldn't defend yourself while you're eating a meal, then you're not that strong, are you? You're the one on the ground pissing blood. I'm still standing here. So who's the strongest now, mate? Like, these guys don't play by the rules, and that's what makes them so lethal. They don't care. There's no arena. There's no bell ring. There's no tapping. There's no nothing. You either win or you die. So even though they're not necessarily that strong, their psychology is so different from anything that these guys are used to that it blindsides a lot of them at first. It's so sick, man. Sikorsky. Sikorsky is a huge Russian man whose grip strength is so strong that he can put his hands against sheer vertical walls and climb up them like he's Spider-Man. Sikorsky is an interesting character. He's not particularly strong. Maybe like B-ish, A-ish, but he's a fucking menace. Sikorsky is the guy who will attack you while you're eating food. Sikorsky is the guy who will attack Baki's girlfriend after he's dropped her off at home. He is a very, very bad man, and that's why he deserves everything that is coming to him. And believe me, he gets a lot. He absolutely fucks up Igari. He does this weird thing when he fights as well, with his fingers like that, like he makes these weird knuckles and he'll just like literally slash you like that and cut your entire face open in these like huge gashes and stuff, and you're just fucked. That's it. You just got these huge scars for the rest of your life. He is a terrible person. He's an awful man. Later in the show, you see him literally sleeping glued to a vertical wall like Spider-Man. He'll just sleep attached to a wall. I'll put him in B tier because he's all right. He's not as electric as the other characters. He's not like Specc or any of the others, but he's a good menace. I would say he's not that strong, but he's a good sort of low-level menace because eventually he learns what true strength is when he fights Baki's brother, Jack Hanma. There's so many cool things you can say about this guy. He's one of Yujiro Hanma's biological sons, but as Yujiro says, the Hanma blood runs thin in him. His natural physique is that he's really skinny, really withered, really thin, and the way to solve this problem naturally is to inject himself with the most intense steroids ever developed by science, including before every single fight. So when you're watching the 90s anime, before every fight the Canadian Jack Hanma has, he injects himself with 3 syringes and eats an entire mouthful of pills. And later in the prisoner arc, characters note, is he a lot taller than he used to be? So, oh yeah, because Jack Hanma has been getting bone lengthening surgery, so now he's about 8 foot tall. I think at the current point, Jack Hanma is about 9'8". At least as far as the manga is concerned. Jack Hanma's height is increased dramatically through extreme experimental limb lengthening surgeries. He was initially 6'4". After that tournament, he becomes 7 foot, but his current final height is 8 foot tall. Jack is a fucking monster. He is the pinnacle of unnatural strength. And you know what's really cool about Jack? Even though he's a monster, he's actually a really nice guy. He's actually a very polite, civil man. He's not a fucking asshole like the rest of them until you fight him. Then he's the worst human in the world. But when you're not fighting Jack, he's actually a very civilized guy. You just wouldn't think it because he's absolutely terrifying. Sikorsky, when he's running around being a huge menace, that's when he meets Jack and he learns what real strength is. Jack fucks up Sikorsky so bad that he just stops fighting him. Oh, that's right. I think Jack traps Sikorsky in a phone booth, and then they transport the phone booth to the fighting arena where Jack can fight him, and Jack just gets bored because Sikorsky's not enough of a challenge. So then Jack is like, all right, I'm gonna give you an opponent who's more suitable, and he brings out Gaia. We're gonna get to Gaia later on. I'm just gonna put him in S, man. Every time Jack shows up, it's fucking cool, man. He fucks up Muhammed Ali Jr. He gets his shit ruined by some other characters, and we'll get to that, but Jack is just a very fucking cool character. Watching him eat is hilarious. He just picks up an entire T-bone steak with one fork and just eats it in a single mouthful. And there's all these memes on Instagram where it's like me after like 3 reps. It's just like Jack Hanma just eating a whole steak. I would say let's get to Gaia. Gaia is an interesting character. It's kind of hard to read his power level. Like, Baki's beaten him in the 90s anime. He used to have a bit of a multiple personality thing. They kind of dropped that. But Gaia is kind of the environmental fighter. So when Gaia fights Sikorsky, he fucks him up in ways that this guy didn't even think was possible. First of all, he can shout so loud that it can literally like create a shockwave and shatter glass, which is a thing a normal human can do, according to Baki. Then he's able to completely camouflage himself in sand and become invisible, which apparently you can do in this universe as well. So he'll pick up sand full of broken teeth and just throw it at you with the force of a shotgun. So you're just like, oh fucking hell, man! It's like getting in your eyes, bits of teeth and shards are just getting everywhere, and you're just fucked fighting this dude. I think Gaia really shines against Sikorsky because you see how much this guy can fuck you up when he uses the full environment against you. I'm not gonna say he's a B. I think he's better than these other guys. He's more interesting, but I wouldn't say he's an S. I think Gaia, ladies and gentlemen, is our first A-tier character. Dorian! Dorian is one of the prisoner arc characters. He's an American. He's clearly based on Hulk Hogan visually, and this guy is very hard to deal with. This guy is a real problem. Dorian is extremely strong physically and in terms of martial arts, but he will also use every weapon you can possibly imagine in the most unexpected ways possible. You just kicked him in the face? That's fine. He'll take the kick. Because while he did that, he's wrapped a cord of steel wire around your hand, and then he'll literally just cut your hand off. Like, this guy is like, wait, what? You're allowed to do that? Dorian will walk into the middle of the dojo full of all these guys who he wants to fight with a bucket of gasoline and be like, hey guys, do you like gas? Oh, and in a fight, you'll punch him in the stomach and he'll just be like, and vomit up a grenade. A fucking hand grenade mid-fight and be like, oh, I was wondering when I need to use that. And he'll just pull the fucking pin. This guy is so incredibly difficult to deal with. I think he's kind of the biggest menace out of all of the prisoners. And he'll even do things like hypnotize you mid-fight. He'll clap his hands and you'll be hypnotized. And then in your mind, you create a weak version of him who you beat. And you're like, haha, I want this to be true, therefore it is. And then while you're hypnotized, thinking that you've won, he'll just fuck you up when you don't even see it coming. This guy is nuts, man. Is he a cheater? Yes. But here's the thing though, Shatter. From his perspective, if he cheated and won, that's your fault. Because you were too weak or too dumb to figure out the cheat. Remember, these guys don't think the same as like a normal fighter. Like they'll be like, yeah, sure, like I cheated, but I'm the one who's standing and you're on the ground, like bleeding, unconscious. So who really won? It's either I'm alive, you're dead. I'm standing, you're knocked out. That's just it. not only does he use all these insane weapons, but he's actually like a top tier Kaioh. He's actually, in terms of combat ability, probably somewhere around Retsu Kaioh, but below. He's not as strong as Doppo and he's not as strong as Rets. I don't know if I'd put him as S. I'd put him as A. I'd say he's a really good character. He's a really good villain who a lot of characters have a tough time with until they eventually fuck him up. I'm gonna put him as A tier. This guy is so shit that I forget his name. Katu, yeah. The only cool thing this guy does, to my memory, in all of the entire series is that he actually fucks up Dorian by blindsiding him. He does get one good hit on Dorian, and that's it. Otherwise, he's kind of just like a bit of a punk. He's kind of a bit of a, you know, bit of a bad boy. He's okay at karate, but he doesn't do anything cool at all. Every time this guy's on screen, I'm like, oh, fuck. This guy is the deep of Baki. I would just put him in whatever. Doyle! Doyle is a very interesting character because he's not actually that strong, but I think he's the only prisoner who really explains their psychology in a conversation the best. Doyle is from Scotland. He has blades, retractable blades built into his body that come out of his elbows, that come out of his knees. He has like explosives, I think, that are pulled by triggers in his hand. He even has C4 strapped to his chest, but a bulletproof vest underneath so it doesn't hurt him. This doesn't work in real life, by the way. Doyle is a very intense character, and he has a conversation with Stridom, who is the American general who's friends with Yujiro, and in how he talks about how, well, it's fine if I use weapons when I fight. What's the problem? And Stridom's like, well, what if I shot you in the head with a gun? Do I win? He's like, well, yeah, because I'm dead and you're alive. And Stridom's like, well, what if I shoot a nuclear bomb at you? Is that fair? And Doyle's like, well, sure. But I will kill you before you press the button. That's the difference. So Doyle explains in extremely simple terms how he and all the other prisoners think. You can use weapons, by all means. You can use guns, you can use sniper rifles, swords, whatever. Like, at the end of the day, you either lived or you died. You either won or you didn't. And he doesn't really understand what the problem is with that. You may think you're good at karate, but Doyle will just walk into your karate dojo wearing a fireproof hazmat suit. He'll zip it up and just be like, hey guys, and throw an entire sack full of explosive chemicals into the room and set it on fire and blow up the whole room and be fine because he's wearing the fireproof suit. What do you do against this guy? You see what I mean? He's not necessarily that strong, but he will just do insane, crazy shit that no one else even thinks of, and that's the advantage he has on the other guys. He will just do what you don't expect. Yeah, you know, you need a gun against this dude. I honestly, I don't think too much of him as a fighter, but I do like him as a character. I think he's quite unusual. Unlike all the other prisoners, he sort of has like a mini redemption arc. He's not actually as bad as all the others. He has more of a sense of honor than the other prisoners. And I find his conversations kind of fascinating. And I liked how relentlessly unpredictable he was, because he'll just do anything. I'm gonna put him in A. I like Doyle. Katsumi Orochi, I think this guy is unbelievably boring. I think the show tries to make us care about this guy, and it never really works. He is Doppo Orochi's adoptive son. He was an acrobat when he was 5. They always talk about how, like, he's gonna be the next big thing in karate and martial arts, but he never really does anything cool. I don't hate him, but I'm actually gonna put Katsumi in C tier. There's only one scene he has in all of Baki that actually held my attention. There's a character called Pickle. He's a caveman who scientists found frozen in a block of ice, a caveman punching a T-Rex in the face. This is Baki. They unfreeze him, and, you know, he's there, and all the characters, all the fighters are just curious about this guy, and they're all there. Yujiro shows up, and he says something about, you know, oh, look at this ragtag crew. So Katsumi's like, hey, Yujiro, aren't you part of this ragtag crew? And Yujiro's just like, this is why no one respects you. Not Baki, not me, and not even your own father. Because you are so reckless and unaware of the consequences. You want to sound strong and powerful, even knowing that you're gonna lose for sure. But that line is what Katsumi needs to realize the reality of the situation and realize, like, fuck, everyone's stronger than me. And he does what he can to reach the next level. Katsumi develops a very special type of punch where he regards the bones in his arm as if they were like a whip, not even like bones himself, but it fucks you up, and it's he's kind of whatever, man. I'm gonna put him in C tier. I'm not really impressed with Katsumi for the most part. Yanagi! This guy is physically the smallest of all the prisoners, but in my opinion, he is the most lethal. He can beat you by walking up up to you, putting his hand on your mouth, and then creating a vacuum with his palm that's so strong that it sucks all the air out of your lungs, and then you pass out. Then the show spends 2 minutes explaining how a normal person can do this. He uses a poison hand technique. The show describes it that you just dip your hand in poisonous chemicals for over something like 5 to 10 years until your hand is literally imbued with poison, and anyone you touch will now get poisoned and will just die, and it's completely incurable. This guy's fucking intense, man, and that's not even how bad he gets. And they describe this process of hand poisoning as so painful that some people can't even endure the full process and they just cut their hands off. Yanagi actually might have the most brutal escape from prison out of all the prisoners, because they talk about like deadly gases, and he basically puts his hand on like this glass wall of the prison, creates a vacuum, can suck the fucking glass off the wall. He has this phenomenal moment where he says to one of the guards, "Do you know what the most dangerous gas in the world is? This." And he gets the guy's head, blows in one ear, and out the other ear, the guy's entire brains explode because he blows so hard through that direction. That's fucking horrific. This guy is basically the Vegeta of the prisoners. Just because he's the smallest guy out of them all does not mean he is the weakest. This guy is nuclear. And Yanagi seems to have a relationship with Gouki Shibukawa. They're both quite old. He teaches Gouki a lesson in martial arts in this, where they're just sitting there having a pot of tea. Gouki's like, "So, you broke out of prison. How's it feel?" And the guy's like, "Yeah, it's all right." And Gouki's like, "So, when are we going to fight?" And Yanagi's like, "You don't have to ask when we have a fight. You just do it like this." And he immediately throws the teapot at him full of boiling water, and it just catches Gouki off guard. And that's also like Gouki learning a lesson from these prisoners, that these guys don't think about like time, place, you know, when's the arena, when's the bells start. It's just like, "Oh, you want to fight? Okay, I'll attack you right now." And you know what's really interesting is this is kind of similar to Bruce Lee's mentality when it comes to this. There's a phone call you can listen to, a recorded phone call between Bruce Lee and one of his friends, but they talk about like time and place, the fight, when are you going to arrange this, when are you going to set this up, and Bruce Lee's like, "What's the time? What's the time? Like, what do you mean what's the time? I'll just show up outside like his house whenever, like right now." Like, that's how a fight works. So it's interesting that like there's a bit of Bruce Lee in all of this. He's like, what do you mean the ring, the time, the place? Either you win or you don't. And I love thinking about this stuff because Baki is basically the psychology of fighting, winning, losing, martial arts, warrior philosophy, rules, the meaning of rules, the purpose of rules, and all this. It's such an interesting meditation on all this. Yes, all these characters are super jacked and huge, but that's kind of just like an interesting window into the psychology and philosophy of the show. There's a lot more depth to Baki than people might think at first, but if that depth wasn't there, this show would not be the worldwide phenomena, this smash hit that it is. If it was simply superficial, it wouldn't be hitting us on this deeper level. There's plenty of things out there that have like very flashy aesthetics, you know, or whatever, but they have no substance, and that's why we don't remember them or don't know them. Baki is known kind of worldwide by a lot of people, by millions and millions of people. People who don't even watch anime watch this show. If you work out a lot, if you love your protein shakes and whatever, you probably know Baki, because this show is extremely inspiring in that regard. When I watch it, I'm like, fuck, I need to eat more. And I need to go to the gym because I feel weak in the face of these prime specimens. In terms of how I would rate Yanagi as a character, he's very interesting in terms of how lethal he is and how he has a very unusual set of skills. He really fucks up Baki. Yanagi is the only prisoner who beats Baki twice, let alone once. It's a tough one, man. I don't think he's A, but I don't think he's B. He's a, you know what? Put respect on his name, A. But then again, he's not on Dorian's level. Nah, fuck it, he's a B. Yeah, no, he's a B. Fuck him. This is not even one character. He's 3, and he's called the Mouth. Mouth is an extremely unusual character in Baki, but he absolutely belongs in this universe. So Mouth is triplet brothers. The way they speak is that like each guy will say a different word in the sentence first. So it'd be like, "Hello, I am Mouth. Nice to meet you, sir. Now I am going to fight you. It's really weird to listen to, and even the characters in the show remark that this is really off-putting psychologically, just to listen to this guy talk. Mouth shows up in the Baki prison arc. For those of you who don't know, let me summarize this arc. Baki kidnaps George W. Bush, the president of the United States, in broad daylight so that he can be put in prison to fight this guy, Mr. Oliva, an American prisoner who is so dangerous that the United States government has to monitor him by satellite 24/7. But before Baki can fight Mr. Oliva, Che Guevara wants to fight him first. This is where we meet Mouth. Okay, we all know the meme of like, the guy's so strong he can beat 3 people at once. Yeah, sure, whatever. Because in most movies, it's 3 thugs who kind of attack you in an uncoordinated manner, one after the other, whatever. That's not what Mouth does. Mouth has perfect coordination. When he punches, you'll get 2 punches and 1 kick all at the exact same time. If he kicks you, you'll get 2 kicks and 1 punch at the exact same time, and it doesn't matter how good you are, you're gonna get hit by one of them. You might block both punches, but bam, you took a lead kick. You might block a punch and a kick, bam, you got clocked in the face. This guy is not good at any martial arts. He kind of admits that. He's like, yeah, I'm just okay at like everything. But we have absolute perfect coordination, and you get fucked up when you fight this guy. So I'm gonna put them in B tier, not A. They're very unlikable. They're absolute pieces of shit, these guys. They're bad people, so they deserve what comes to them. It's gonna get even more ridiculous than this. Che Guevara, because why not? This guy's a pretty cool character. He's not actually that strong, but he has one of the most ridiculous moves I have ever seen in any martial arts media, period. That move is he slams your eardrum, so he pops your eardrum, then he pulls out a handful of his own hair, twists the hair into a claw, puts the hair claw inside of your ear until the hair wraps around your inner ear cochlea, slices it to pieces, shreds your inner ear with his hair claw, and now you've completely lost your sense of balance. You can't even stand up. You just constantly fall over endlessly, and you're fucked. Like, who the fuck does this, man? Like, who even thinks of such a move? I think Che Guevara's all right. I wouldn't put him in A. I would keep him in B tier as a character, because he's, to be honest, when it came to his actual combat abilities against Mr. Oliver, I found him a little bit disappointing, but that move alone is, like, legendary, and that he deserves a spot right there. Mr. Oliver. Mr. Unchained. He is based on the bodybuilder Sergio Oliver, this dude. Look at this dude! This guy was basically rivaling Arnold Schwarzenegger back in the day. He's a fascinating character because he has absolutely no regard for martial arts at all. He doesn't know any techniques. He relies purely on brute strength. And even Yujiro at times tells him, like, hey man, don't disregard martial arts, man. It's not only about strength. But let me put it this way. Mr. Oliver is so strong that even Yujiro Hanma acknowledges him. Now, how does a man get this strong? Mr. Oliver eats 100,000 calories every single day. He's so strong that he can be completely naked and tank the blasts from a shotgun at point-blank range and be completely fine. When he hardens his muscles, he can stop bullets. To recover from the minor wounds of a shotgun blast, he sits down and eats just entire pounds of steak and wine. Nothing but steak and wine. That's how he heals. To train, he has literal helicopters fly, and then he pulls down the helicopters through chains as a form of working out. And he has one of the best theme songs for a character in the show. Like, everyone else has a theme song that's like really intense, really dangerous, really like brutal. Oliver has some sort of like chill jazz song. It's like it's like a really classy American jazz tune. He has really weird moves when he fights. Like, he can ball himself up like a fucking Pac-Man, grab you, pull you into the ball that he's made with his own body and crush you like a human hand crushing a butterfly. He's technically an American prisoner, but he's so physically strong that he can just leave the prison whenever he wants. That's why he's called Unchained. The US government can't contain him. He can just fly to other countries whenever he wants. He can just go and do whatever the fuck he wants because no one can stop him. He's such a fucking gronk, man. And his prison cell, it basically looks like the interior of a mansion. It's like luxurious, full of paintings paintings, books, classical music, sculptures. You're gonna say no to that guy? There is sort of like a storyline that goes along with his wife, which at first makes him look kind of ridiculous, but in the long run, when you see how it fully plays out, it actually kind of paints him to be quite noble. Basically, in a nutshell, his wife used to be beautiful, then she sort of lost her figure due to like a disease, and when I say lost her figure, I mean, how big can you possibly imagine? Let me put it this way, his wife might be the biggest woman in the world, and at first I thought, like, does he have like a fetish, or does he have like a type? But no, he still loves her in spite of how much she's changed as a result of that. And it kind of makes him out to be a bit of a good bloke, I would say. But at first I thought like, oh man, what are they doing to this character? And he even explains to Baki, oh, the reason I got this strong is just so I can carry her. This isn't for fighting, man. That's just like secondary. And you know what? It actually is very important to his character because he has this wonderful line with Baki when he shows up long before this arc even begins, where Baki's like, how the hell did you grow so strong? And Oliver hugs him and he's just like, you silly boy. Love is the only thing that makes us grow stronger. And you know what? I fucking love that line. How true is it? We'll leave that to the philosophers to discuss. But I think that line to Baki, love is the only thing that makes us grow stronger. You know what? You all right. It's so poetic that it must be true. I fucking love Mr. Oliver. I think he's an awesome character. He's this noble, gentlemanly pile of muscle, and I won't say a bad thing about him. All right. Mr. Oliver, no discussion, straight into S tier. Muhammad Ali Jr. This guy's a very polarizing character. Muhammad Ali is a character in the show as well, and he has a son called Ali Jr. Ali Jr. is extremely good at fight. He's a very fucking good fighter, and he can counter all the moves that were used to beat Muhammad Ali back in the day, such as like Igari over here lying on his back and just kicking his legs. He has a very good moment with Yujiro Hanma where Yujiro's like, okay, you're good at boxing, what are you gonna do against this? And he lies down on his back and he's like, this is the stance that was used to beat your dad, what are you gonna do? And Ali's like, well, it's simple, in a fight you want the other guy to be on their back. I mean, you're already on your back, so I've won. And he just leaves the room. And Yujiro Hanma's like, ow, what? Fucking destroys the door. He's like, where the fuck is he? Where is he? And he's gone. And he can't get Ali. He's just like, Ali, without necessarily beating Yujiro, trolls him harder than almost any other character has in the entire show. like he baited Yujiro like no one else has, and Yujiro, he's not happy. Can tell you that. I'm just gonna let Billy outside. I can just hear him. He wants to go. Gotta say goodbye to chat first. Oh, what a fat boy. All right, Billy, I'm gonna let you outside. But first, you have to say goodbye to chat, okay? Give them a goodbye smile. Look at that smile, chat. All right, give him a wave, Billy. Wave. In terms of combat ability, Ali Jr. is actually really high. He is devastating with his fists. Extremely fast, extremely strong. It's quite surprising what happens with his character or how it ends, but I think I've thought about it a lot, but I think I've understood it. Basically, Ali wants to fight Baki, and Baki's not really interested. So the way that Ali wants to provoke him is that he tries to hit on Baki's girlfriend. This is an extremely bad idea. And in the process of doing that, he goes around being a pest. Like, he wants to fight Doppo Orochi, he fights Gouki Shibukawa, he fights Jack Hanma, and in these first fights, he does KO Doppo. And he does KO Gouki, but when he fights Jack, that's when he learns what a real monster is, and Jack fucks him up really badly. I think the purpose of Ali's character is to show the difference between these, like, brutal fighters' mentality and a sports fighter. In the world of sports fighting, Ali is a genius. He'll probably beat anyone, but he's a bit injured after Jack. Gouki comes back and he's like, hey man, I know that we fought the other day and you won, but like, I just, doesn't feel right to me, to be perfectly honest. I think I'm not satisfied with the result. I kind of want to fight again. And Ali's like, well, I'm a little bit injured, man. And Gouki's like, well, what does that matter? I'm here right now. what are you gonna do? And this is where Ali's like, oh shit, these guys don't think like me. They don't care about your condition. You win the fight or you lose. And Gouki basically grabs him by one finger and fucking smashes him into like trees, like something like 15 times. Gouki fucks him up. And then I think Ali is just a bit more injured. And then Doppo shows up and Doppo's like, hey man, I know you KO'd me, but like, yeah, I'm not happy with the result. I want to fight again. Ali's like, man, I can't even use my hand. And Doppo's like, what does that matter? What are you gonna do? Just give up? Is that unfair? Sure, but they won and you lost. So they don't think about fair in that regard. Ali Jr. kind of comes to a bit of a bad end when he fights Baki, and you think he's gonna whip out some crazy shit, and he doesn't. Baki just fucking destroys him, and it's not even funny. It's like a humiliation ritual almost. And I think the whole purpose of this was to show the difference between a sports fighter mentality versus a real fighter. And I don't mean to disrespect boxers when I say that. I'm saying that these guys are fucking crazy. That's what I'm saying. And there's a very interesting detail that people pointed out that I never noticed until they mentioned it. Any of these guys, Doppo, Hanayama, Retsu, Gouki, Specc, when they're getting serious, they get like a red sort of line in their eye, like a red knife or something. It's like a killer instinct look. Ali Jr., I don't think ever gets that look. And that's the difference between him and them. He never has the killer instinct. And that's why, in a way, Ali Jr. is the inverse of Specc. Ali Jr. in terms of combat ability would probably beat Specc, but Specc will fucking kill you. That's the difference. Ali won't kill you. Specc will murder you. Ali has the ability, but not the psychology. Specc has the psychology, despite the ability, and that's why he's so lethal. And also, Ali Jr. has this amazing face that you'll see this memed a million times. This is after he loses. It might be the greatest crying face in all of anime history. It's just the face of absolute humiliation. It's the face of when you've just absolutely lost everything. You weren't the man you thought you were, and you just lost in the worst way possible in front of the woman you were hitting on and in front of the whole world. It's an incredible face. Some people argue that Ali Jr.'s character is wasted, and I thought that at first, but I actually don't think that in retrospect. I think there was a very important point being made with this guy, that it's not only about your physical ability, it's about how intense your psychology is as well. Like, let me put it this way. Are you willing to die to win this fight? If you're not, then you're not going to beat the guy who is. That's the difference between Ali and everyone else. And do I put him as A or B? No, I'm going to put him as B. I'll even put him as C. I think that even though his arc makes a very interesting point, I still ultimately think he's a bit wasted. I still did feel a bit disappointed by him. And I guess the meaning I drew from his character is ultimately me trying to make the most of what we got from him. So I think C is where Ali belongs. I wouldn't put him in A. BAKI Hanma! This character is just awesome. The opening of the prison arc episode is pretty funny with this guy because it's after he's won the martial arts tournament from the 90s anime Baki the Grappler. And he is so unbelievably strong physically that him just sitting in his own classroom, just doing nothing, makes everyone else around him tremble in fear. That's how Netflix opens. The teacher is trying to write stuff on the board, but he's just trembling in fear, and he doesn't know why. And the reason is because on an instinctive level, on an evolutionary level, he can tell how dangerous that person is. Baki is so lethal that ordinary people tremble in fear around him. Which is very similar to what happens with his dad, except on Baki it happens at a smaller scale. He is the son of Yujiro Hanma, the strongest creature in the world, and if you're watching the 90s anime, you see him at age 13 fight 100 men and only beat 60 of them at age 13. So he considers, oh damn, I'm too weak. He has been put through every martial arts training program in the world. He's been given the best diet and the best nutrition in the world by his mother. He's inherited the demon back from Yujiro Hanma himself. And Baki has a very fun psychology. It's similar to Guts. You know how Guts is like from Berserk? It's like, I don't want to be the strongest thing in the world. I just want to be happy. You know, I just want to be at peace. The problem is, in order for Guts to have peace, he has to fight the strongest demons in the world. Baki's in a similar situation where he doesn't want to be the strongest man in the world. He just wants to be strong enough to beat his father. The problem is, his father is the strongest man in the world. Baki was doing like MMA in the 90s, before like UFC had kind of really blown up in the mainstream. In a lot of ways, Baki the Grappler is kind of ahead of its time in its martial arts philosophy, that it wasn't only about strikes. It was kind of just like everything. What is everything the human body can do? Now, why does Baki want to fight Yujiro Hanma? Because his dad killed his mother in front of him. There's a very complicated family history between these guys. Baki's mother is a woman who Yujiro Hanma met, I think, in like South America at some party, and she seemed like a normal enough person, but Yujiro, being an absolute monster, could sense a psychopathic killer instinct in her, and it's like, okay, you're the perfect woman to be the mother of my child. So had a baby with her, and then basically told his wife, train my son to be the strongest thing ever, and then I'm going to fight him at the age of 13, and if I'm not impressed, I'm going to kill him. It's something like that. Before their fight, there was an earthquake. So Yujiro solved this problem by punching the ground. Okay, this is what Baki, the 13-year-old boy, is up against. And I think Yujiro's about to basically kill Baki. And Baki's mother, who's been an absolute bitch, like a terrible person up until this point, I think her protective instincts switch on, and she's like, no, fuck you. You're not killing my son. I'm your opponent now. And Yujiro kills her. He basically bear hugs her to death. And it's kind of a weird thing in the show, because it's never quite, at least to my satisfaction, fully explained why. I think it could be as simple as she challenged Yujiro. That means you're ready to die. But when Baki sort of like questions him about this later on, like, why'd you do that? It kind of like makes Yujiro angry immediately. Like, don't ask me such things. You know, I don't know if I'm fully satisfied with the explanation of why Yujiro did that, or how Yujiro sort of lives with that or squares that for himself. It's a kind of complicated show in that regard. These characters have very strange psychologies. Baki is really interesting because when he wants to be lethal, he can be devastating, but he's still a child at the end of the day. He's something like 17 or 19 years old, and he's still got a kid mentality about a lot of things. And I think that's quite an endearing quality for him. I think that's what makes him so good as a lead character and sort of a window for us into the world of Baki, because most of us are not like 50-year-old escaped prisoners who've killed like 100 people. Most of us are not like 50-year-old karate specialists. So like most of us are probably like have lived a somewhat more normal life like Baki in a way, but then again, Baki's not normal. But anyway, you see the point I'm making. He's an interesting window into this world to see all these other characters through, interact through, and he's also quite surprising. Like in a lot of ways, he's like Goku. He always has some crazy shit up his sleeve that you are not expecting, and he'll whip it out during fights, and you're just like, hang on, wait, he could do that all along? For example, when Baki activates his demon back, he can basically punch you faster than your own eyes and nervous system can react. Like, he's nuts, man. Or he'll look at a cockroach and he'll be like, hang on, a cockroach has no acceleration when it runs. It just goes to top speed in 1 second. How's it do that? So he will literally study a cockroach and learn how to mimic its movements. So out of nowhere, Baki can explode at like top speed with 0 acceleration right into your body. And even Yujiro is like, how did you do that? Like, who taught you that? That's a great bloody move. You know, I've never seen that one before. So it doesn't do shit to Yujiro, but it impresses him. Baki is sort of the Goku of the MMA world, but also just kind of the street fighting world. I don't find him as electric or fascinating on screen as, say, like Hanayama or Shibukawa. Not as unpredictable, but he is the lead of the show. He's you and me, mate. He's a fucking true blue Australian. He can do basically everything. And for that reason, he goes in fucking S tier, mate. Yujiro Hanma! Soon to be the new DLC guest character in Tekken 8. A character who is so intense that he is going to bring me back to Tekken itself. A game that I gave up because I think Heat sucks balls. But I'll still play it for this guy. Yujiro is the one-punch man of the Baki world. He is the strongest creature ever. He is so dangerous that him and Mr. Oliva are both monitored by satellite by the US government at all times. Yujiro is so dangerous that the United States government itself has a peace treaty with him, with one man. Yujiro is so strong that he stopped an earthquake with one punch. Yujiro is so strong that there is a wall of bulletproof glass in front of him, and someone will offer him the key to get through that door, and he'll say, "Fool, I don't need that." And he will literally press his body into the bulletproof glass so hard that he will literally break through it, walk right through it, and then the glass will snap back into place after he's done. This is one of the greatest images, quite possibly, in all of anime. When he plays scissors, papers, rock with Baki to see who does the dishes, Baki wins, because Baki did rock, or so he thinks. And Yujiro's like, "No, you didn't win. Watch." And he puts his fingers on Baki's fist, and he squeezes with his fingers so hard that it makes Baki fall to the floor and opens his fist into paper, which means that Yujiro wins. And Yujiro says, "Listen, son, there are some blades in this world that can cut stone." It's like, you can't beat this guy. He's too strong. But something I'll say about Yujiro's philosophy that I absolutely love is that he knows every martial art in the entire world. He knows every move in existence, and he doesn't use any of them. Because to use a move would be to admit that he is weaker than his opponent. So he never uses moves ever. He only uses brute strength. Only 2 characters in the entire show, to my knowledge, have ever been a challenge to this guy. One is King Kaku, who we're going to talk about later, and the other is Pickle, a literal caveman who punched T-Rexes in the face. Yujiro is unironically Japanese Chuck Norris. When Yujiro wants to drink a bottle of whiskey, he just takes the entire bottle of Johnny Walker Black, turns it upside down, holds the bottom, just pulls the bottom off with brute strength, and then just drinks out of the broken bottle like that. Whatever he does it in the strongest way possible. And the cool thing is that Yujiro is actually based off of a real bodybuilder. I forget the guy's name, but there was a bodybuilder, I think in the 80s or 90s, who had long red hair and actually kind of a similar physique and build to this guy. Yujiro, when he smokes a cigarette, he just like inhales the entire thing in one go. You just see the entire cigarette just go. And the thing is, Yujiro's not getting weaker with age. He's getting stronger. As he gets older, he develops the ability to literally see weaknesses and physical problems in your body. So he'll just be walking down the street and he can see if you have a lung infection, if you have a broken arm, he can see if you've got like a cancer. He didn't ask for it, he just can, because he's Yujiro and he can just sense these things. I think he's also immune to every poison in the world. And people wonder, well, you know, if the US government is so scared of him, why don't they just snipe him? Why don't they just kill this guy and get it over and done with? Well, here's the problem. You could probably kill Yujiro with a sniper rifle, but there's also a very high chance that that won't work. That's the problem. He could probably sense your killer instinct from like a kilometer or 2 away as you take aim, and he'll dodge it. And if he knows that you, the US government, have tried to kill him, then that's it. You're done. He's coming for the president. So that's the thing. And it's not, and people say, oh, is this anti-American? It's actually not the way I perceive it. I don't think this is a rip on America. I think it's meant to be a way of bigging up Yujiro Hanma. Whoever the strongest power in the world is at the time of writing Baki, that's who Yujiro is going to have this agreement with. Whether it's Russia, whether it's China, whoever it is, whether it's Australia, if we ever take over the world one day, I think that's the joke, is that the strongest country in the world has a peace treaty with him. What's his weakness? See, that's the problem. Yujiro doesn't understand the question. There is no weakness in Yujiro. Do you see any weakness in this man at all? This guy is relaxing by doing a perfect Jean-Claude Van Damme split while smoking a cigarette in his late 30s. All right, the word weakness doesn't enter the equation when it comes to Yujiro. There is no weakness. You can't beat this guy, period. I think if Baki properly beats him, the show's over. Even though he didn't beat him though. Baki does fight him at one point, and Yujiro admires that even though he won, Baki's spirit is not broken, but he still didn't win. I can't say any more good things about this guy, but he is one of the greatest characters just ever. His theme music, it's like something out of a symphony orchestra. It inspires pure terror, and anyone he is around just immediately trembles in fear. He is the strongest creature on Earth. He is the One Punch Man of Baki. He will be the newest DLC guest character in Tekken 8. He is Yujiro Hanma, and he goes in S tier, and it's not even a debate. What, you gonna argue with him? You gonna tell Yujiro he doesn't belong in S? Didn't fucking think so. see King Kaku. There is an arc where the Baki characters go to China to fight all of China's strongest Kaiohs. And honestly, most of them are a joke, except this guy. This guy is the trump card in their arsenal, and I would say he's even more lethal than Retsu Kaioh. See King Kaku is about 140 or 150 years old. And you might think, well, okay, how strong was he during his prime? No, you're asking the wrong question. This is him at his prime. Every character in Baki, whether it's Gouki at age 70 or Sea King at 140, that's actually their strongest power level, because he uses a thing called Shaori, but it's like extreme relaxation. And he has a very interesting conversation with Yujiro before they fight. Well, Yujiro says to him, what was the hardest thing to give up on your quest for strength? He explains that when he was a young man, he was immensely physically strong. He was one of the strongest men in China. But then he realized that wasn't actually the secret to true power. He said the hardest thing to give up on his journey was his physical strength. He had to let all that muscle he'd spent so many years working for just wither away in exchange for pure relaxation. He's extremely hard to hurt because if you punch him, he'll just go with the flow, do like 20 backflips and then just land. And then it didn't damage him at all. It's sort of like, you know, Muhammad Ali's sort of rope-a-dope technique, or whatever Muhammad Ali did where you punch him and he sort of just rolls with the punch. Or if you've seen Vinland Saga Season 2, where Thorfinn takes 100 punches and he says, there's a trick to getting punched. And he kind of like, every time he takes a hit, he kind of like rolls into it and it never hits him at full force. And the other guy's like, I don't get it. I know that I'm hitting him, but every time I do, it feels like it's just like I'm hitting paper or something. What is this guy doing? This guy, King Kaku, does that to the max. And he also has a very weird type of punch. It works through pure relaxation, but like a whip. At the last moment, it hits you with an impossible amount of force. He is the only character in the entire series of Baki who I've ever seen make Yujiro Hanma scared. This is true. When you see their fight, and he's like, oh, you're quite strong. You know what, Yujiro? Why did you take this punch? You're a big man. This shouldn't hurt too much, should it? And at the last minute, Yujiro's like, wait, what the fuck? Oh shit! And he jumps back. And even Baki is shocked because he's like, I have never seen my dad Yujiro back away from anything. Why the fuck is he jumping away? Why the fuck is he retreating from this guy? It's kind of a funny fight between these two. And this guy is also just like a great character. Whenever he shows up, he's got really funny advice. He's absolutely lethal. I would say in terms of power level, I think he's actually kind of top tier. I think Yujiro is obviously at the top. Miyamoto Musashi would be at the top as well. So would Pickle. You could kind of put this guy in 4th place, man. I think he would fuck up Oliva. I think he would beat Jack. I think he would beat all these guys. I think he'd beat Hanayama. He'd easily beat Hanayama, Doppo, Retsu Kaioh, Dorian. Yeah, I think See King Kaku would probably be the 4th strongest character in the whole show. And I do love, again, I love him for the same reason I love Gouki Shibukawa. Just because he's an old man does not mean that he's a nice person. He's a fucking asshole. He is just as bad as the rest of them. And he has this great moment where all the Sea Kings, other than Retsu Kaioh and him, have been absolute shit tier. They've all just, it's been a humiliation. And he goes to the guys who trained them all and he's just like, I'm pretty disappointed with how the Sea Kings are performed. You made China look pretty bad. Tell you what, can you please put your hands on top of each other like that? And then just like, okay. He's like, okay, thank you. And with one chop, he just chops all their hands off. He's like, yeah, that's your punishment for embarrassing China. Like, this guy's fucking crazy, man. I think he's fantastic. I would put him in S tier. I fucking love See King Kaku. I think he's sick. Motobe! Motobe is pretty underwhelming, to be perfectly honest, for most of the series. Every time he's in the martial arts tournament, he kind of gets wrecked. He's not in his true environment because he's a weapons specialist and you can't use weapons there. But he really shines when Miyamoto Musashi shows up. When that happens, he is the only character in the whole show who truly understands this guy. And he has to tell the other characters, you don't get it. You guys are like brutal street fighters, in and outside the ring, whatever. But when you win a fight, both of you are still alive. That's not how this guy thinks. Miyamoto Musashi fought 60 duels to the death and he won all of them. For him, losing means you're dead. And you guys don't fully understand that yet. I'm the only one who does. And his fight against Jack Jack Hanma is actually really good because Matobe will, when he fights, he'll wear like carbon fiber chain mail under his clothes, so you almost can't even damage him. He'll use smoke grenades, he'll use poison cigarettes, flammable liquids, ranged weapons, just weapons in general, and every dirty trick in the book. Everyone gets fucked up by Musashi except Matobe, because he's the only one who understands this guy's true psychology. And even then, he's like to Musashi, no, you just thought I was a weak target, and I took advantage of the fact that you underestimated me. In a real fight, I wouldn't have won. So I like, Matobe's okay, he's a cool looking character, but he is mostly undersold throughout the entire series. I wouldn't put him in A. I'd say he's A during Musashi, but for the most part, he's kind of a B. I don't feel bored when I see Matobe the way I do with Katsumi, so he will put him in B. Pickle! Pickle is a caveman who scientists discovered frozen in a block of ice in the middle of punching a T-Rex in the face. In the Baki universe, Pickle now proves that human beings actually existed 65 million years ago, and this one in particular fought Triceratopses, Brachiosauruses, Stegosauruses, Deinonychuses, Velociraptors, and of course the T-Rex for food. This guy does not play by the rules. It's even almost a stretch to call him human. Pickle is so strong that he is basically bulletproof. He is so strong that when Yujiro Hanma himself puts his fist into his to match him, Yujiro can instinctively sense that Pickle is physically stronger than him and actually does a move, which flips Pickle to the floor. And Yujiro himself regards this as a loss. He's like, what the hell, man? Yujiro's like, this guy is so strong, he actually forced me to use a move. His body and his physiology it doesn't operate on the same rules as everyone else. Pickle also has a really interesting form, like his bones sort of change shape and he looks almost like a pterodactyl. And when he does that, you can see the scars of a T-Rex bite across his entire chest, which means that he survived getting bitten by a T-Rex. And what is wonderful about this show is that when that happens, and all the other characters witness this, their instinct is that they just clap. They just applaud. Pickle is an interesting character because he doesn't think like the others. For him, if you fight someone else, it's because you want to eat them. It's for food. It takes Baki to teach Pickle through body language what a fight can also be about. And the way Baki does this is he goes right up to Pickle and just smacks him gently on the cheek. And that outrages Pickle because this clearly wasn't a normal attack. This was an insult. And Pickle then understands the concept of an insult to his dignity, to his honor, and that's why he wants to fight Baki. And it's genius of Baki to do something like this, to use body language alone to teach this primitive caveman a different reason for fighting, a different concept. And it's kind of funny that like a wound to your honor can be felt more deeply than a wound to your own body. He is one of the most unpredictable characters in the entire series because he thinks more like an animal than like a human. I think he's somewhere between A and S. He's not as interesting as the others, but I don't think Pickle is as fascinating to me as Yujiro or some of these others. If there was an A+ tier, I would put Pickle in that. Final answer. There you go. Miyamoto Musashi. How do you get a samurai from a few hundred years ago into the modern world? Well, it's quite simple. You clone his body, and then you get a psychic to channel his ghost and then breathe the ghost into him, and then you've got Musashi in real life. Now, this guy was no joke, okay? This guy was basically a level 100 human. If you read about this guy's history, his real life, during the samurai period, he fought about 60 duels to the death, basically. You lose means you die. He has a 60-0 KD ratio. He's nuts. And some fights, I think, he didn't even win with a sword. He was so good that to challenge himself, he just brought like a wooden stick and would break your arms. In that regard, I don't know if he won every fight by a kill, but I think if he's broken your arms with a wooden sword, I think he's won at that point. I think you've lost. He fought in actual wars and actual battles. He fought in battles where people had guns. He brought a sword to a gun war and survived, like, all of these battles. This guy is fucking insane. You shouldn't be able to do this. Miyamoto Musashi's face is not like anyone else's face in Baki. There's something just weird about it, something off-putting about it. He's almost kind of hard to look at, but I think this is intentional by the writer because they describe him before they breathe his ghost back into a body that he's been through hell, and I think his face is meant to express the extreme PTSD of the life he's lived. He's lived a far more violent and deadly life than anyone else in the entire series. For him, losing means death, and in fact, the more you look at that image, the harder it is to look at it, right? The more you're kind of tempted to turn away. His gaze is too weird. There's something off about this dude. He's a very interesting figure in the history of martial arts because he did some very strange things. Like, I think it's believed that he actually might have been left-handed, or maybe he was ambidextrous, because he fought with two swords. He also wrote this book called The Book of Five Rings. In that book, he says something very important about art, which is that you shouldn't only study your one art form. Learn other art forms. He learned pottery. I think he learned painting. I think he learned, what else? Music, cooking. And he wasn't necessarily very good at any of those other things, but it didn't matter because, as he said, if you learn other art forms, it will deepen your understanding of your main one. In the show, he stands like this. It's kind of like this weird sort of hunched over look, but it's kind of like absolute relaxation and complete readiness. And not even Pickle stands a chance against him. The only guy who really holds his own against him probably is Yujiro Hanma. And even that fight kind of gets cut short for bullshit reasons. Matobe intervenes, but I think there's reasons for that, which is, I think the writer probably thought it was probably too much of an ego move to say, my character beats the greatest samurai in history. You know what I mean? I think it kind of makes sense from an artistic standpoint that it's kind of a stalemate between Musashi and Yujiro. His psychology is from such a different world from them. Because for him, everything is life or death, he has no issue with cheating at all. And even Baki calls him out. He's like, this guy is one of the biggest cheaters in history. I'm not fighting fair against him. And Musashi is like, yeah, you know, whatever. Because from Musashi's perspective, cheating is just another tactic. It's not like he needs cheating to win. It's that cheating is just something he has on top of being unbelievably strong and fast and having this insane killer instinct and immense strength and durability. In his mind, Musashi can kind of, without slashing you with a sword at all, he can mentally inform you that you've been cut. I don't know how to say this other than that you will literally think that your head's been cut off. You'll feel it. But once that feeling's gone, you'll realize you're completely intact. His mental intensity is so great that he can make you feel like you've literally been sliced to ribbons. Another thing Musashi did, which is a bit of one of his famous cheating tactics, is that he just shows up late. He does, like, if he was unsure if he could beat a guy, he would just show up late to the fight and just, like, piss the guy off heaps. And then he would have a psychological edge on him because of that. The last thing I wanted to say about Musashi, which is quite interesting in the show, is he will let himself get hit by a technique he hasn't seen before just to see how it feels, just so he can understand it. He has this great moment with Baki where he gets hit by a jab. And before that happens, you know, you have a flashback with Yujiro Hanma explaining to, like, Kid Baki, there is one punch in this world. It's the fastest punch ever, and no one can dodge it. Everyone will get hit by it. Doesn't matter if you're Muhammad Ali, the best boxer in the world, or whatever. And Baki's like, oh man, is it called the supersonic speed punch move? And Yujiro says, it's called the jab. I think the jab is structurally the fastest punch in all of martial arts. Baki does that to Musashi, like jabs him and basically knocks him to the floor. He's like, huh, what'd you think of that? And Musashi's like, I mean, it's interesting. It's not very strong, but like, yeah, it got me. So now I know how it feels. And Baki's like, wait a minute. You could have blocked that or dodged that? And Musashi's like, well, yeah, of course. If you can't block a move like that, you're not a martial artist. So that shows you the level that Musashi is on. His fight with Matobe is really interesting because that's where they both use weapons against each other. Retsu Kaioh, they use weapons against each other. Due to his sheer unpredictability and how weird his face is, you can't take your eyes off him. He's electric in every scene. Fucking S-tier character. And there you are, ladies and gentlemen. That is my tier list of Baki characters, not ranked by strength, but ranked by how interesting they are as characters, their quality as storytelling characters. Thank you for enjoying the video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, catch me live on Twitch. Good night, good luck, and watch Baki the movie, watch the Baki the Grappler from the 90s, and watch Baki on Netflix. And get out of my channel, I'm working here.